Bum 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 dun dun bum 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 dun dun. I think that could be our new theme song. Maybe it's
I
just something that came to me. I
I think we'll
no.
get sued. So,
Oh. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Unfuck Your Fitness with Brandon and Emily.
yeah.
Emily, you look well put together today. You look like you showered and flip me off for all you listeners out there. Um, yeah, and we kind of already talked about this, but you have not worked out yet today,
No.
and I've been
It's not
sweating gross
even noon
twice.
yet.
What?
I said it's not even noon yet.
I cannot. Evening workouts, man, and that used to be like I loved working out at 5 o'clock at night after like 4 or 5 solid meals. But I just love early morning workouts. I'm okay if I'm doing a second workout in the evening, but if I don't work out in the morning, my day is fucked. I don't know. It's become a habit. But you like that midday, right? Like you're an 11 o'clocker.
Yeah, preferably, but usually I have to wait for my husband to get off work. So we typically go around 3:30 or 4, but like on the weekends if we can go in earlier. And then I like to get my strength workout out of the way and then later in the day do like more active stuff so that I'm just like moving more. I feel like if I wait all day to do the strength, I don't want to do too much active stuff before that cuz then I'm like tired
Right,
for the strength training. But yesterday
right.
we did our strength workout and then later we went and played pickleball. I don't know if you've ever played pickleball, but it is so fun. I burned like 500 calories. My heart rate was around 185 the
Ooh.
whole time, and everything is sore. I don't do explosive movement. So like diving back and forth across the tennis court was tough. It
It's
was fun
real
though.
thing. Yeah, this has become very popular. 3:30 in the afternoon, though. Like, aren't you dealing with a lot of, let's just call them teeny boppers and Crocs with video cameras? At a lot.
Not
With,
at this as much. And
okay,
honestly, I think they come in more around maybe 5 or 6. I think they told us is when it gets like really busy at this gym. 3 or 4ish, it's not bad, but this gym's massive. So we are lucky to go to a huge gym that has like 10 squat racks. So I really don't have to worry about it.
well, I'm lucky. I'm spoiled. I mean, we've got good teenagers that come in my gym, and they're
Yeah.
cool. We like ours. We'll keep ours. But yeah, that's oh god. I remember working out at 3:30 in the afternoon in other gyms, and I'm just like my headphones can't go loud enough.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
just a lot. Yeah. Well, let's get to it. One of the most common questions I've gotten for 20 plus years, Emily, I know you get it on a consistent basis. We've had this discussion. We have different varying viewpoints on this, and that's great because we're going to discuss it. But really gaining strength versus mass. When somebody says, like, I want to get stronger, or I want to look bigger, or I want to see more muscle, does that mean necessarily getting stronger? And I think it's some form of that question gets asked on a consistent basis when it comes to goals. So I guess what are you really seeing, Emily, when somebody comes to you and says like, I want to get stronger or I want to get bigger or I want to see more muscle? How do you really dive into that with a client? Because I think it's very specific, right?
Yeah. I think it's just kind of as a coach understanding who my client is because sometimes people say things and they don't exactly mean what they say or they don't understand enough to put it into a certain way. So some people say I want to get stronger, but if they say that along with um I want fat loss, I want to look toned and I want to be stronger, that tells me that what they mean is they want to build muscle and lose body fat to get the toned look, and they want to be stronger in the sense of like they want to be able to move their body throughout the day without getting so tired and winded. They want to be able to carry their groceries in and have it be easier. They want to be able to lift and load boxes in everyday life. That's the type of strength that they're looking for. And when they say they want to be stronger in the aesthetic sense, is they want to put on muscle. So I don't really actually think most of my clients are coming to me saying, I want to get stronger, as in, I want to increase my 1 rep max. I want to be loading as many plates on the bar as I can. I don't have a
Right.
whole lot of that as a virtual coach. I do have some, or I have clients that will graduate to that once they've hit other goals, but it's typically not what they mean when they first come to me and tell me that they want to be stronger.
Right. And I think you hit it right on the head because you're a good coach. Must have had a good teacher.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
you really have to identify what they really mean by like, I want to get stronger, right? And
Mhm.
you know, you say it's conditional strength. Like I just don't want to be tired when I get up the top of the stairs with laundry or carrying groceries in.
Yeah.
And how we program clients like that is going to be completely different than how we would truly train somebody that is looking specifically for strength,
Yep.
versus the aesthetics of strength. If you take a 200-pound bodybuilder, and we use men for an example, but if you take a 200-pound bodybuilder and you take a 200-pound power lifter, who looks stronger?
The
The
bodybuilder,
bodybuilder looks stronger. Who is stronger? Typically 3-1 by
power
strength
lifter.
is the power lifter. So
Yeah.
when people say I want to get stronger, it's like it's people's interpretation of what that really means. And you, as a great coach, because you have been exposed to health coaching, really dive into the client. Like, what does that mean? And I think even just to take it to the next level, because I know you do this as well, because we've talked about it, but just because something's the perfect prescription for like looking stronger, or i.e. hypertrophy or gaining muscle mass and having more definition, it could be the absolute perfect program, perfect prescription. But if the client hates it, can't stick with it, and isn't going towards those types, it's not the right program, right? And so meeting that person where they're at and really designing a program that's geared towards their interpretation of whatever they're verbalizing as that goal, is spot on. I can't agree with you more. I think that's a great approach. So
Yeah.
what are the first steps you take with a client that is saying, okay, aesthetically, I want to see more muscle. And so we've broken past the part. It's not so much about being stronger. I want to appear stronger. I want to see more muscle in my body, and I want to feel stronger. What are some of the first steps that you do with a client in that aspect?
Yeah. So I will typically do a lot of education on, aesthetically, if they want to look toned. It's that lose body fat, gain muscle mass that we've always talked about. Those go hand in hand. So I just do a lot of educating about that and what that's going to take. And that is going to take a specific type of training, which is considered strength training. But what we mean is it's weightlifting, it's using resistance against the muscles in a very specifically programmed out way, utilizing progressive overload and using the right types of reps and set ranges to build muscle. Um, and it's a lot of educating that sometimes what they're wanting to do, I know you just said it's got to be something they like, but they also have to be willing to do what it is that they need to do to reach that goal. If you come to me and tell me I want to be ripped, I want to look ripped, but I'm only going to do group class, I'm going to be like, well, you're probably not going to look ripped. Sorry, that's probably not the way to get there. You just can't
Unless
get right type.
your nutrition is going to be so on point that it's just ridiculous and you don't veer from it at all. I mean, you've got a chance at that point. But yeah, I mean, it's going to take. Let's be honest. It's an obsession. It would have to be extreme commitment if you want to look like that.
It would. And yes, of course, the nutrition side of things, I'm talking strictly. But yes, to get ripped, you have to have nutrition on point. But the problem with the group class is that you can't progressively overload the way you really need to. And I mean, to really, really, you can look, you can get the toned look in group class for sure. But it's just if you really want to be like a certain aesthetic, you have to do the type of workout that works with that aesthetic. Um, and I think that that is somewhere that people get confused about. And it's not just group class, it's also home workouts. A lot of people want to work out from home, and that's fine, especially when you first get started. And that's fine if you're willing to put the money into a squat rack, barbells, heavy stuff. But eventually, if you want a certain aesthetic, you probably, maybe not everybody, but probably most people are going to need to graduate into a gym or putting money into a certain type of equipment because you just have to have that progressive overload. And you can't get that with just certain pieces of equipment or group class or beach body or, working out at home.
Yeah, I mean it's on the hypertrophy side, because this is what we're talking about, guys. It's hypertrophy, hypertrophy. You can say it however you want. If you want to hate on me and correct in the comments, go ahead. I'll destroy you later. Um, but when you're talking about really overloading those muscles, there's a lot of things that come into play as far as load management and as far as the breakdown of what the workouts need to look like to sustain that type of work. Now, there are certain genetic types. I'm not going to lie to anybody out there. You can eat like shit. You
Mm-hmm.
can work out 3 times a week and you're probably going to look good. That's 1% of the population. It's good genetics. You can blame somebody else for that. But for most people that we're going to work with in general population, they're going to have to put in a lot more effort, both on the nutrition side, which we can't even get into today because we don't have time, but on that workout side where it's going to be 4, 5, 6 days a week of workouts that are 45, 55, 65 minutes of higher intensity as far as the load on the muscle group's going to require. you're probably going to have to do synergistic muscle groups that are breaking it out over a period of time. So what am I talking about? You don't have to train like a bodybuilder, but they are using very similar type of programming to say, Monday is going to be leg day, and I'm going to focus on all the muscles inside my legs
Yeah.
on Mondays. On Tuesdays, it's going to be chest day. I'm going to focus on all the muscles inside my chest. Well, Wednesday is going to be back day. A big reason that we like to separate legs and back by at least 48 hours is because of the amount of pressure that we're putting on your central nervous system and your lower back from doing those common movements like squats and deadlifts.
Mm-hmm.
So Wednesday's back day, then Thursday you're going to get into arms and core. Friday is going to be some form of a shoulder workout and glutes if you're Emily, because you can't ever go more than 2 or 3 days than having a glute workout in there somewhere. And Saturday is going to be typically an accessory day or some kind of like cardio hit day or like a quick in and out 30, 45 minutes, and Sunday's a rest day and you're back at it. And it can become monotonous. And I think that's what a lot of the feedback that I get is like, God, it's boring. It's the same thing over and over again. I understand, but that's what the body responds well to.
Yeah, I will tell people what works both in nutrition and fitness is routine and structure and boring and simple. Like you're not going to get the progress you want if you're switching things up all the time. And personally, like some people love it. Like I love routine. I love having that program and doing it week after week because I like to see where I can progress because it's something I've learned to watch for. So I think that's something that people, if you're watching or listening right now, like track your weights, track your stuff, log what you're doing because it can be fun to see yourself get better over time. And you can't see that if you're switching it up all the time. You literally can't. You can't see what you were doing on a seated shoulder press 2 weeks ago if now you're doing something else. So like, and I like how you mentioned the split because I am a big fan of supersetting and I'm a big fan of splits, muscle group splits. And I like that you mentioned that, especially for muscle build, because that is really important is to have that split and to break it down that way. It's just what works, honestly.
It is. Well, and it's overtraining and hypertrophy training is absolutely, well, in both hypertrophy, and we can talk about it with strength training later too. Overtraining is absolutely a real thing. You can overtrain to where you are actually working backwards and doing like full body hypertrophy has to be extremely systematic as far as what your programming is going to look like for that to work effectively long term. Because at a point, your body's going to get to a point where you're not able to load the muscle the way that you need to see the results. Yeah. And it's typically the best way to go about it. It's not the only way, but it's typically the most effective. And it is. It's discipline and it's structure. And yes, creating, let's just put this out there, muscle confusion, another buzzword. You cannot confuse muscles. That is not a thing. We're trying to, especially in this style. Now, muscle confusion, the way people are interpreting that, really good for performance athletics. It's good for strength training as well. Really good for tactical athletes, my fire EMS, law enforcement, military guys and gals, because it creates destabilization in your training and makes you to respond in the environment. And that's very, very good. But for this type of training, we don't need to create a lot of quote unquote confusion. We need to create a lot of load management, just like you said. And that it can feel monotonous. So what do you tell your clients that are just, I'm bored, can you write me a new program? Or I've done this for a month now and I'm bored with it.
Suck it up.
No, you just tell them no. Sorry. No, you get nothing.
Pretty much. I mean, at some point, it's yes, I want to listen to my clients. And yes, I'm going to take in what they're telling me into consideration. And if they're absolutely at the end of their possible rope and something has to change, then we'll change it. But at some point, I'm also going to say, you're paying me to give you the correct prescription, if you will, of what you need to reach your goals. And that is sticking to a program, sticking to a nutrition plan, and doing it for the amount of time that your body needs. And I just educate them. I explain to them why we're doing this, why it works, what's going to happen if we switch it up all the time or make certain changes, and why we need to do it a certain way. And I think once you explain why you're doing something, I think most people are willing to say, okay, I understand, and I'm willing to do that for my goals. If you just say no because I said so, then they're not going to do it. But I do a lot of education, yeah.
No, I said so. Do it.
But honestly, it's kind of like suck it up because too bad. I don't care if you're bored. We're not doing this for fun. You didn't hire me. You're not paying me this amount of money for funsies. If you just wanted fun, you would just go to group class all the time. You would just go do Zumba all the time. Like you would just go whatever. Like those are fun things to do and they're great for cardiovascular health and, that kind of endurance. But like you have a goal, you came to me for that goal and it's not going to be all fun all the time. But like Neither are a lot of things in life, but we do them for
Right.
a certain reason. I compare it a lot of the time to going to work. A lot of people, like, no matter how much you love your job, it's still work. It's still taking time out of your day to go do a thing that you have to do. And it's not always fun and it's not always the most exciting thing. It's monotonous and it's boring and whatever, but it gives you money. And therefore, the money is the goal to do whatever it is you want to do with that. Pay your bills, go on vacation, have whatever kind of life you want to have. And it's like if you have this goal, you have to do the boring things to get there. It's just how it works. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think you do a good job of explaining it to the client, right? Like,
Yeah.
yes, I am notorious for just saying no, just do it. But another step I take is I'm very aggressive with people. I will just challenge the goal. Then, if that's not what you're willing to put in, then this is not your goal, right?
Yeah,
Like,
you're really annoying when you do that. I hope
we
you
just
know
need to
that.
be, and if you want to have fun when we exercise, there are a lot of fun things that we can do when we exercise.
Mhm.
That's great. If this is truly your goal, I want you to know that it's going to take a level of obsession. It's going to take a level of discipline. You're not always going to feel like doing it. Like I said uh, last week or 2 weeks ago, my motivational Monday is like, I just don't feel like. Well, what's feeling got to have to do with anything?
Mhm.
This is the steps that you have to take to get there. And the end result, it's not. I really don't feel like it's people that don't believe it. They just want to believe that there's got to be another way. And this is why, we have 33% of Americans that exercise on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. Like, let's just be honest about it. But 90% of Americans outside the 10% that are absolute, I just won't even go into it. 90% of Americans understand that exercise is going to increase their quality of life and their longevity. Like, you're going to live longer and you have a higher quality of life. Very few people argue that, but still only 30 some percent of Americans exercise on a consistent basis. And that's just because it's hard and it's because it takes discipline. And that's just about reevaluating the goal. There's nothing wrong with saying, okay, I started out like I wanted to be shredded. I walked into
Yeah.
the gym. I want to see every muscle pop on my body. You go down that path for 6 weeks and you're like, this is not for me. Fine, change the goal. That's okay. But like, admit to yourself and to your coach at times, if I have to pull it out of you, or if Emily has to explain it to you, um, then it's okay to change the goal. But I think it's important to really, understand what they're trying to get from it, right? Like, why is that such an important goal to you? Because it will take hard work. There is no secret program or magic nutritional plan that Emily and I can give to anybody that's just going to magically shred you up and you're going to look like a rock star all the time. You're going to feel great about it. It's going to take hard work and discipline. There is no secret to that.
Right. And sticking to the plan. And I think, that is somewhere where we might be a little different, which is okay. Both of our tactics are the same. And I've experienced your tactic because I struggled through my bodybuilding competition and you were like, well, then quit. And I was like, I don't want to quit. Well,
I think I did say that a couple times, didn't I? Just quit then. Fine. Go ahead.
yeah. So like where I'm different, like I'm a little bit more like when my clients are coming to me and not wanting to do things, I'm like, I don't tell them, I remind them of their goal. I'm like, you said you wanted this. So this is how we get this. I don't say, well, then switch your goal. Um, but it works. They're just two different, tactics of saying the same thing, which is if this is your goal, this is how you go about it. And if you don't want to do it, then don't, but you're not going to get those results. And that's usually where I come at it. I'll say, we don't have to do this. If you don't like this, if you don't want to do this, that's fine, but you are not going to have successful fat loss or muscle build if you don't do it, point blank.
Right.
So then they can kind
I
of
think,
decide from there.
well, people just, I think they push back against it because they really do want to believe that there's got to be an easier or quicker way.
And
Like,
there's not.
okay, well, what if I was just taking this supplement, or what if I just did this surgery? And they really want to believe that there's got to be a simpler way. And in 20 plus years of doing this, trust me, if there was, I would make sure I could have it and offer it.
Right.
But there's not. If this is what the goal, and sometimes, especially with women, because women's bodies. I was blessed with 5 sisters, an unlimited amount of females in my life at all times.
Yeah.
Hormones play such a huge role, especially in hypertrophy training, when you
Yeah.
talk about wanting a female body to look a very specific way. I do not lie. When I have couples come in and they sit down and I'll be like, all right, I'm just going to tell you flat out, they're both looking towards weight loss. They want to make some body modifications, decrease body fat, increase muscle mass. And she's like, yeah, I've changed my diet. I'm walking every day. I'm drinking more water. And he's like, I haven't changed shit. I'm going to work out for 2 weeks and I'm going to lose 20 pounds and she won't lose a pound. And I warn them ahead of time. This is what's going to happen. And it's about hormones. But knowing that the female hormonal level, especially with estrogen and where that sits, and testosterone and where that sits for females, is exactly flip flop for males. For
Mhm.
most genetic people, for when we're talking hormonal levels at normal levels, your estrogen is going to be much higher for females and lower testosterone. And then you're going to have the exact opposite for males.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the female body really being able to look how that female feels good about herself, one of the things I explain, and I think I had this conversation with you, is like, it has to be obsessive.
Mhm.
And can that be unhealthy? It can be, but it's your choice, right? It is your choice, and it is your body to look that way. We can look at the ACSM standards and say, from a body fat percentage, you are at a healthy weight. You don't need to be any lower. But in a woman's mind, if she is not healthy by the way that she looks, I don't care if the body fat percentage is at a healthy range. She's not healthy because she's
Right.
not where she wants to be. It's
Yeah.
making sure that that level is not too aggressive, right? It's a fine balancing act. But for women, they're going to have to commit more to it. I'm just going to tell you how it is, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's hard for a lot of times for women to accept that. But if it's really what they want, like I've said, and like you coach them on, and I just tell them, you're going to have to be all in, right? But it's for yourself. Like if this is truly how you want to look for you, don't let anybody else tell you that, oh, that's unhealthy, or that's, you're addicted. Oh, okay. Well, there's a lot worse things out there we can be addicted to than a healthy body, especially
Yeah.
if I feel good about it. You know what I'm saying?
So, okay, say we've got somebody who is coming, we have two people. Two people are coming in, and one of them wants to build muscle mass. They want to look muscular. The
Mm-hmm.
other one wants to get stronger. They want to slowly increase their 1 rep max. They want to see the numbers in whatever form of logging they have go up. So tell me, if they're doing the same type of programming, same, like same type of split, what would you recommend? Like, what are we saying, like, for sets and rep ranges for those two things? Because they're different. That's a big difference in the training. You can be doing similar exercises. You can be doing
Right.
squats. You can be doing bench press. You can be doing lateral raises, whatever it might be. But it's going to come down to the sets and the reps. And heavy, you can go heavy in both of them, but it's not going
Mm-hmm.
to be the same weight, because heavy at 12 reps versus, whatever. So go into that a little bit, because that's a big thing, I think, for
Yeah,
people knowing what to do in the gym.
it is. And full disclaimer. So 20 years ago ish, a lot of these high school programs, college programs are coming out with a methodology called bigger, stronger, faster. I absolutely believe that to adherence to that program for most genetic types, what we're basically saying is, can you see progress in both at the same time? You can.
Mm-hmm.
I implemented it. I've trained it. I've done it myself. You can. Now, is it going to be maximum results in both hypertrophy style training and strength training? No, you're not. You're not. Can you become faster, bigger, and stronger all at the same time in small increments? You absolutely can. But if your true goal is strength, yes, like you said, your workouts may look similar in nature, but your rest times, your load management, and the programming is going to look pretty different. Um, why would somebody want to get stronger? It could be anything, and this does not just go for males. Two of our longest term training clients at my gym with one of my trainers, they started with weight loss. I believe one lost about 100 pounds, one lost 70, and it was true weight loss training. And then their obsession became strongman training. And they
Mm-hmm.
finished like first and second in the state in strong women competitions, just absolutely killing it because they felt very empowered by picking up heavy shit. That's awesome. For a woman, if I can help a woman feel more empowered about herself and stronger, more confident, great. That's a great application for strength training. For guys, sometimes it's about I want to pick up heavier weight because the way it makes me feel. Or I can put on some mass, maybe not the same type of mass that you're going to get from hypertrophy training, but that style of strength training is going to be very specific. Without going too far into the details, in conjugate training is one of the most effective ways I've found for most people ages 20 to 50 without major injuries to do true strength training. So you're going to run in 4-week cycles. I won't go through each week in detail, but you're basically hypertrophy is going to be included in there, and that's why you'll still see some results. But week 1 is going to be true strength, and you're going to be working somewhere in that 2 to 5 rep range max on a lot of your compound movements. You're going to have a squat day, you're going to have a bench day, you're going to have a deadlift day, you're going to have some accessory work, but you're going to be low rep ranges, 2 to 5s, working that 3 very consistently with longer rest times.
Yeah.
The big mistake that people make here is, and they just do that all the time. That is not a proper way to strength train. I'm just going to say this flat out. put it in the comments, say it on me, on you right, all you want. It's not right. Coming in and maxing out on a consistent basis will get you stronger for a period of time until some of those stabilizer muscles cannot keep up with what you're asking your primaries to do. You're going to have an injury, pain, strain, degeneration, or injury. So what we do in conjugate is we break that into a little bit more effective long-term training. So if week 1 is strength, week 2 is going to be speed week. Same type of compound movements. We're just going to do them under completely different load and duress. So we're at 40% of our 1 rep max, doing things as fast as we possibly can for 3 to 5 rep range. That 3rd week is going to be hypertrophy. It's going to be very similar to the muscle building type of programming that we're talking about here. Straight up hypertrophy week, building mass into those muscles and making those muscles bigger and stronger. And then week 4 is going to be destabilization. Same type of compound movements, lower rep ranges, and we're building that strength as we go. And you're going to work on those 4-week cycling. So it's a little bit more in depth than what we would do for hypertrophy style training. But you can see progress in both. But I think sometimes people try to dabble right in the middle and don't see a lot of progress in either. And then they get frustrated. So you got to kind of pick which direction. And there's no right answer. Which one's right? Whichever one is towards your goals. So there's no right answer to do this. There's just a right way to train towards both styles of methodology.
Yeah. And I
without
think
being
that,
on
so this is something that I deal with a lot with training with my husband, because he is very much the guy who wants to go in and just try to beat his 1 rep max every week. Like, he just wants to go heavier and heavier and heavier, but he's upset that he doesn't look super built. And it's hard to explain to somebody that that's just not the way to do it. And it's hard because I try to remind him, because I also like to see if I can lift heavier. But you, in the hypertrophy world, you can still, like I was saying earlier, heavy, you can still go heavy in both. So even though maybe I'm not overhead pressing my 1 rep max or even my 3 rep max every week, maybe I'm doing sets of 10 to 12, but I can still get heavier in that 10 to 12. Am I going to lift the same amount of weight at 12 reps as I would at 3? No. But am I going to get more out of it with my goal of aesthetically bigger muscles by doing less weight at 12 reps? Yes. So I think that's where people get confused. It's not that you have to go lighter and you can't push yourself. You have to go heavier and you have to push yourself, and it should still be, like you said, 45 to 60 minutes. That's the other thing. You can't have these super short workouts. Can you get some movement in that's good for your body and your heart health in 30 minutes? Sure. But if you're trying to build muscle, you've got to be spending a little bit more time putting that load onto those individual muscle groups.
Right. And it's just understanding which one's towards your goal. Like, I hate working out without a plan. I'm working out because it's good for you. That's not going to fucking last. I will guarantee I'm working out because it's good for me. Nobody sticks with it because of that. You have to have a systematic plan that's going into it. And if that goal changes, that's great. I always, there's a client, I will not mention them by name, but they're still a friend. It's okay. When they very first started training with one of my trainers, they were like, okay, I want to do a bodybuilding show. And that trainer, they went nuts with him for 3 weeks. 3 weeks in, that person goes, you know what? I don't want to do a bodybuilding show anymore. I want to run a marathon. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, the programming methodology could not be more different, right? So, all right, well, we're going to switch over to marathon running. And for 3 weeks, they did that and got really into it. And 3 weeks later, I don't want to run a marathon anymore. I want to do a powerlifting meet. Oh my God. All right, so in 9 weeks, we ran the whole gambit, because people join gym. What are the 3 top goals here? I want to run a marathon. I want to do a powerlifting show. I want to do a bodybuilding. And it's just because they think they have to have that style of programming in order to be effective. But you don't have to do one of those competitions to train in one of those methodologies. You just need to have a plan. But the plan needs to match the goal. And I think that's the biggest discrepancy when we look at people saying, I want to get stronger versus I want to look stronger, or I want to have better aesthetics. Yeah. And those, I think, like those people that dabble in the middle, they seem to have the most frustration because they're not seeing the massive gains in both. But if you're seeing slow progress in both, that's the hybrid athlete, quote unquote, is the one that can be faster and have a quicker 1 mile time, but still be able to put up massive strength gains. I don't know if I ever told you about these guys. There's a really cool ebook out there. A lot of them are ex-military, but it's called The Hybrid Athlete. And their benchmark is they deadlift their mile time. So imagine deadlift. So if you're running a 6-minute mile, you're doing a 600-pound deadlift. It is fucking insane. These guys are freaks of nature. They do competitions. So they'll do like a strongman competition one weekend, place somewhere middle of the pack, and then the next weekend do an Ironman and finish it. I mean, it's just absolute freaks of nature. So you can't have those rare individuals that are going to see high performance in both. The human body is capable of it, but it takes a very high level of programming to do that. I don't think most people feel comfortable with programming themselves that way, or the time that it takes to do it effectively. So
Yeah.
you can do both. You can hear me. You can do both. Bigger, stronger, faster absolutely works, but it's even more in depth than either programming on its own, because you've got to be very aware of how and what you're programming as you go through that to be able to see some hypertrophy goals and also see some strength goals both exceed at the same time.
Yeah.
But I think it's the hardest of the three. Would you agree? I think if you're okay, I want to see hypertrophy goals, I want to see strength goals, or I want to see goals in both. I think that third is probably one of the hardest for clients to really commit to.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because yeah. It's harder because you have to be so dialed in to make sure you're doing the exact like right thing at the exact right time. So like if you're just focusing on one and you're just doing it, you're just doing it. But then when you're trying to do both and like fit all the pieces in, it just gets convoluted. And I think that's like yes, there's a small amount of people who come to us with those specific goals, but the majority of people don't. So I feel like for me, when I'm speaking on my platforms or on my social media or to my clients, I'm doing a very generalized like this is what we do to reach your goal in like a non-competitive way. You know, for me
Right.
it's a lot of what I'm pushing, I guess I
Mm-hmm.
can say. The style I push the most to get most of my clients what they want, not all, but most, is the bulk maintenance cut phase
Okay.
in both nutrition and training. And I think
When
the
you're
thing that
programming,
people,
sorry, when you're my ADHD is running wild. So when you're
yeah.
programming clients like that, do you tend to gravitate more towards like free weight movements, machine movements? Because you I know you love supersets. So are you typically combinationing like free weight, machine, or body weight? Like how do you typically find a lot of programming that works for your clients?
So a lot of my clients, it depends because a chunk of them are working out at home, which really limits, like I said, it limits them and it limits me and my programming for them and what I really feel is best. But in a perfect world, let's say they have a gym membership and they go. I'm doing a combination, not a whole lot of just body weight. It's some machines, it's a lot of dumbbells and barbells because that's just where I feel like you're going to get a really good load on the muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're a brand new beginner, maybe I'm putting you more on machines because it's a little safer. But if I feel like I'm comfortable with your form and I'm comfortable with where you're at, I'm going to be pushing you towards those dumbbells and eventually those barbells. And machine, when I say machines, I'm utilizing for the more advanced, not advanced, but not a total beginner. I'm utilizing a lot of like hammer strength, plate loaded stuff. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yep.
using a little less of maybe like the pin loaded stuff. That's more going to be for my beginners. Besides maybe like leg extension, hamstring, those can be really great. And it always depends on what your gym has and which one's going to be the best option. But I really like to use, plates, barbells, dumbbells, that sort of thing, for those clients, just because I feel like that's going to get them the most bang for their buck, I guess, in that sense of their goal of doing that.
One of my favorite things with hypertrophy training on machines, like straight up selectorized. You finish your workout, their legs are absolutely just use leg day because it's my favorite day. Leg day is just fucking torched. Like they can't even walk. Then you're gonna pop them over to one or two machines, selectorized machines, and do either a drop set, pyramid set, or burnout set. And to the point where like every part of their body is just dying. They're ready. You don't know if they're ready to cry, scream, or punch you in the face all at the same time. It's just that finisher is like it's like the Mortal Kombat finish him move is when you just you put them on there or you get them on the leg press and you're just pulling plates and they go to failure on each set and they're just you talk about
Yeah.
overload, they're just freaking done, right?
And
It's some of my favorite stuff to do in hypertrophy.
that is a big check mark in the pro column for in-person training because
Yeah.
trying to program that for people who are doing it on their own it's really hard. They don't quite understand what they're supposed to be doing. They don't quite understand how to do it. And by that point, they're fucking shot. They're exhausted.
Right.
They're not going to push themselves the way they need to. They're just going to shit out. Whereas if you're there standing there screaming at them and forcing them to do it, they're going to do it and do it. You know what I mean?
But yeah, I
So,
mean, I'm a sadistic motherfucker. I do that shit on my own, but it's
yeah,
not
but
fun.
yeah.
No, but
And
like when I'm doing it, like I'm not. They always, oh, you get this too. You love to work out. The fuck I do. When at the end of my workout, when I'm doing leg extension, I can't feel my fucking leg. I'm like, this sucks. This is dumb. Holy shit, I'm not gonna be able to walk for 3 days.
yeah.
But like that's what gets the results. Yeah.
Even as a coach myself, even as somebody who does love working out, who does know how to push myself, I will never, that day that you and I worked out for my show, we did shoulders and core, and you had me doing some stupid army bullshit on the floor and upset and pissed off and wanted to run and
Yeah.
everything hurt. I'm not going to do that myself. I have not done that since. I will never do that. I won't. I won't. And that's me. Imagine the average person. It's
Right.
just hard for me to program that for an online client because they're just not going to be able to do it for themselves. So that's a big pro for in-person training, where you're going to be able to get that. You're going to get that type of push from your trainer, and that's pretty cool.
What about like, especially with hypertrophy, soreness is a big, I think, topic that we have with clients. And I have a lot of lactic. It's not lactic acid, you guys. Lactic
Yeah.
acid is what you're feeling the last couple of those reps when you're feeling that burning sensation, and then it just dumps and you feel like you can't do anymore. That's lactic acid being released. True soreness, just so you guys are aware, it is basic. We don't fully, completely understand soreness within muscle pain. The best I can do to describe it is it's like mineral deposits around our nerve endings that our brain computes as pain. But soreness does not equal results always. Sometimes it's good indicators for coaches to have. So I'm curious, when you have clients, do you ask about soreness, or when they're discussing it with you, how does that kind of conversation go with hypertrophy?
Yep. So I do always ask about soreness, but not for the reason that my clients think. So I will have a lot of responses where my clients will be like, yeah, I was super sore. And they think that that's like awesome. They're like, that means I got a good workout in. Does it mean you did or didn't? No, it does not really indicative of either of those things. You can have a great workout. I always use myself and Cheyenne, my friend, as an example, because we kind of started around the same time. We were very much on the same level experience wise. I would get so freaking sore every time, and it would last 2 days. I had the DOMS. It was sucked. And she never, nothing I could do, nothing she could do. She would never be sore. And she used to get frustrated because she thought she wasn't getting a good enough workout. I used to get frustrated because I was laid up for 2 days. But it's just our body chemistry is different. Chances are you're going to be more sore when you first start working out again after a long break or having not worked out for a while, or if you switch up the type of workout you're doing. You're just switching it up and your muscles aren't used to it as much, and you might get more sore from that. What I'm asking for, my clients don't understand this. The reason I'm asking about soreness and how long they're sore is because if they're sore for a day or two, fine, no big deal. If they're sore for a week or more, I'm going to say, where's your stress at? How much sleep are you getting? What's your nutrition like? Because that is an indicator that they're not recovering properly. It's
Right.
not in those first couple days, it's not how hard did you work. I can figure that out from other indicators, but it is how are you recovering, because that's more important.
Yeah, I mean, and for those, look, I'm not going to tell it. I got to be sore after every workout because my brain mentally, that's if that's where you're at, there's nothing wrong with that. Fine, do eccentric movements on everything that you do. So like negatives,
Yeah.
do a
Yeah.
full negative workout. You will be sore every fucking time you work out. It'll happen every time. That's that control. That's why new movements make us more sore, because we're having to focus and control them a little bit more because we're not
Yeah.
so used to that repetitive motion. So the negative portion is what's going to make you sore. Finish your workout with negatives. You'll be sore, fine. But soreness is not always, like Emily said, a good thing, because your recovery and your nutrition, if you're micronutrient or macronutrient deficient or sleep deprived or overstressed, basically it's going to slow down your workouts for the rest of the week. Like, and now what am I going to have to do as a coach? I'm going to have to back off what we're doing because that's proper application. I don't want to fucking back off. I want to push you farther. So we need, soreness does not always have to be there for an effective workout. I think don't get frustrated if you're not getting sore. And if you want to get sore, fine, do programming that's going to get you a lot of that muscle fatigue and muscle soreness. What the fuck are you doing? Is he scared? What's the matter? Hey, buddy.
Oh, he's
Hey,
scared so he's going to join us.
Hey, bud, is that the one that ran away that
No.
we chased down the? Funny story. All right, now we're serious and everything. Emily called me crying one day. I have to teach Parkinson's in 20 minutes, and my dog ran away, and I can't catch him, and he's just running away, and I don't know what to do. I was like, all right, I'll come over there. So me and an unnamed Baraboo cop basically cornered this dog into where it stopped running away from Emily as Emily's bawling and screaming down the road because she was worried it was going to get hit by a car, to grab it by the collar and put it in my car so that she could drive it home. Oh,
That did happen. All I can remember is it wasn't this one, it was Bear.
yeah.
Running down the road. He's still wearing his little diaper, and I'm holding a squeaky hot dog toy, just crying, walking down the road. What a nightmare.
Oh. So it did happen. But yeah, I mean, on the hypertrophy side, like if you're getting sore, it's not always a bad indicator. It's not always a good indicator. You need to know why it's coming there. But being sore for a week's not okay, right? Like that's, if it's something you did a 2-hour workout and you knew you went overboard and you're going to be sore for an extra couple of days, fine, not a problem. You just need to spend that extra. If you spend extra time on the workout, you got to spend extra time on the recovery. I think on both these things, because Jesus, we're already at 48 minutes. Yeah. I think recovery for both of these is very important to discuss. On the hypertrophy side, you're getting a lot of recovery time because if your programming is done properly, you're spreading out a lot of the load on those muscle groups. Mm-hmm. But on the strength training side, a lot of times multiple muscle groups are being used, especially with compound movements. So like the bench, the deadlift, and the squat are all full body movements. Even though you're laying on your back for a bench press, 20% of your strength, if you're doing it properly, comes from your legs.
I just have to say, it's so funny. When I'm benching, my fucking butt will cramp up, and I have to put the weight down, and Joel will be like, "Is your butt cramping?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah, drive. Elevate your feet. Sometimes with people, if you just get their feet higher, they don't use the glutes as much. That's a good thing. You're supposed to be activating, right? But rest time on the strength side, you big thing I see is mistaken programming is, like I said, the less than 48 hours between deadlifting and squatting. Can you do them on the same day? I get that question a lot. You absolutely can. Well, do you do it on leg day or do you do it on back day? I don't care. Both is appropriate. It would probably make more sense to do it on your leg day if you're going to do both on the same day, and then not deadlift on back day, right? Which is fine. But the rest time in between those strength trainers typically need to get an hour to 2 more of sleep than those that are doing the same amount of volume of hypertrophy. So let's just say you train in 90 minutes a day, like very high intensity on strength or on hypertrophy. That strength trainer is going to need typically an hour or 2 more of rest in a day. Some of the best in the world, like those guys, take naps on a consistent basis, and they will not sleep less than 8-9 hours a day. My strength mentor, Matt Winning out of Columbus, Ohio, trains Brian Shaw and Thor Bjorson and all the, top in the world. That guy sleeps more than anybody I know. But he has to in order to train the way that he does. I mean, he's got a master's degree in human biomechanics, trains a very, very high-end strength. The more impressive factor is that he was a high competitive power lifter for 15, 20 years, had the world record squat, never had an injury a day in his life, a compound injury to where it actually adhered his training. And he just says a lot of that comes to his sleep and his nutrition, but his sleep was huge. So getting proper amount of rest time, if strength training is a goal, you probably need to look at your life. Like, what are my requirements? What's my work requirements? What are my home requirements? Do I have the time to really dedicate to where I make sure I'm getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night? If not, I maybe need to look at different programming. But those strength people really, really need to focus on more rest.
Yeah, it's super important. How do you feel, before we wrap this up, since we're finishing up on kind of recovery stuff and muscle soreness, are there supplements, because I get this question a lot, that you think help with recovery or muscle soreness or anything like that?
I do. And supplements, let's just put this out on the table. Supplements are supposed to be supplementing something that is missing in your nutrition, not replacing. I hated years ago, especially with women with weight loss training, they started calling protein shakes meal replacement shakes. We shouldn't be replacing a meal with a supplement. It needs to come from whole foods, real nutrition, right? Nutrient dense food. But for the recovery aspect, I think that's the area we should be supplementing the most. It very much depends on the style of training, how hard you're training, and what your nutrition looks like. But a common question I get is like creatine is one of the top supplements I get questions on, especially from dads that are asking me about their teenage kids. If you are not training at a high level, if you're not training 5 to 6 days a week, and really getting, I'm talking 60 to 90 minute workouts to where you're fucking torched, you don't need creatine. I'm just going to say it. There's better supplements that you can use for recovery, um, depending on what your goal is. And I'm talking to those younger teenagers, especially just because I don't want to see them harm their body. And if you are taking creatine, you need to drink a gallon of water a day. We need to have a whole one on supplements. I'm just not going to spend a lot of time there. But if you're training at a high level, creatine is definitely a really important supplement that can be used properly to repair muscle fiber.
Yes.
Electrolytes and branched chain amino acids are also my two go-tos.
Okay. Yeah.
Pre and post, it's all personal dependent. I have some people that respond so much better if they sip on their branch chains or if they sip on an electrolyte supplement during their workout. I have some that feel amazing if they drink it right after. They feel great for the rest of the day. And I have some that feel amazing during their workout if they drink it right before. You need to experiment with all three times and dosages. You never need to do so. Some is good, more is better. No, you don't need to overtake these supplements. Use the recommended dosage, but when and how you take them, you need to try it at different times and really, really see what works best for your bodies. But those supplements are not going to hurt you, especially if you're taking the recommended dosage. But they also will not work properly if you're not staying hydrated enough. That's another big thing with supplements. Like you need to be drinking half an ounce to an ounce per pound of body weight as far as water is concerned for those supplements to really work the way that they should. I know you use both. I mean, you use BCAAs and electrolytes, right? Yeah.
I do. Yeah. And those are definitely ones that I recommend to my clients as far as recovery. Protein, BCAAs or EAAs, and sometimes I don't push electrolytes as much as long as they're nice and hydrated. I don't feel like they really should need electrolytes, but if they feel like they do, if they're sweating an extra ton or it's super hot out, or I don't know, I might recommend it. I'm pretty pro creatine. I've done a lot of research on it. So I think you and I have a different vibe about that. I do recommend it.
No. I take creatine and I have for 15 years. I'm against people abusing it. And I think that's where creatine is bad made. Right. With anything. Right. We were at a national conference in Chicago at the ACSM conference. They're now studying the effects of creatine on neurotransmitters and actually showing that our brain can actually work at a higher capacity with heavily saturated muscles within creatine. So it's exciting. I mean, super exciting. We always knew what creatine has, but they've only tested it on healthy, active individuals so far. But they're going to start looking at it even for like neuromuscular disease treatment, like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and dementia. So, no, creatine's a great supplement. It's also the most abused supplement. Protein, yeah, I'm all for it. Drink protein. You don't need to drink 10 in a day. I'll be honest with you. I drink 1 or 2 protein shakes a month. And it's normally like after a workout when I know I need to get enough nutrition in. Most people, I don't know. Let's see. You do with a lot of nutrition. We'll finish with this. I promise. We just got good stuff, guys. We got good stuff. I would say 3/4 of the population I've worked with over the last 20 plus years are protein deficient from a fitness standpoint, not a medical standpoint, but from a fitness standpoint. Most people struggle to get enough protein in their diet, even when they're eating very, very well. Do you see the same thing?
Yeah, protein is definitely one of the things that people are the most deficient in until they learn macros. Something about it, once they truly learn what they should be having as far as carbs, proteins, and fats, and they really dial it in and they start to like get into it, like really into it, then they hit their protein. Like my clients who are dialed in are like every single week they are killing their protein. And it's fats and carbs where I'm like, hey, we need to also pay attention to those. But for the person first coming on, no, we're not getting enough protein. They don't understand how to get it, where to get it, how much of it they should be getting. And I used to be the person who drank a protein shake every day, protein powder, water, chug it every day. And I hated it. And I'm at the point now where I don't need to because I understand how to eat without it. Do I still use it? Sure. I put it in protein pancakes or I put it in my oatmeal. Like I'll bump up certain foods with protein powder to make it protein. But do I need to just drink a protein shake because I'm not getting it in my diet? No. And that's where I want my clients to be. Utilize protein, collagen, all those things in your foods on the days you need to, but don't rely on it as your main protein source, and don't drink 4 protein shakes a day. That's ridiculous.
Right. And not good for you. Also can have
No.
really, I think a lot of the reason that people were so heavily with protein shakes was because what did trainers teach you? You had to have at least a full serving of protein within 45 minutes of that workout, especially if it's strength training or hypertrophy based, to start protein synthesis for those muscles to rebuild. Very interesting clinical study that's come out over the last 5 years. They have disproven this, and they've disproven
Yeah.
it on all populations, which I used to tell people that because that was the clinical research that was out. Like you had to have it within 45 minutes for protein synthesis to start. Now, the clinical study notes these are people that are getting the proper amount of protein throughout the day. Then it doesn't matter when you take it in. But if you're protein deficient, you just need to get it in wherever you can. But there's not this window that you have to have. I have to have protein within 45 minutes of my workout. They've disproven it. And I get it. I'm sorry, guys, because that's what we were taught in the ACSM world 20 years ago. Well, they've now disproven that. So
Yeah.
getting enough protein is important. It's not a harmful supplement, but it's not also the answer. It's just a supplement. It's one of those things that can help.
Yep.
Dude, we have a lot to talk about all the time. This is
Well, yeah.
30 minutes. 51 fucking minutes in, but people, I mean, it's just, we're giving away free good information that really helps people help to achieve their goals. But as always, Emily and I are always here to help you. You can reach out to either of us. We take a different viewpoint on the topics at times, but that's great. That's because we both are very, very passionate about helping our populations, helping our clients. So I hope this helps you guys. I really do.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up and
and that's what I got. A list of topics, guys. We're going to keep hitting you with this stuff. Shoot us comments or messages if you have a specific topic you want, but we've got plenty of content that we know we want to address because we constantly get those questions from clients and gym members. So we're going to keep hitting you with that content. We hope it's helpful, and we love you.
I'll put in the Pulse. I'll put it in mine and in the Pulse Instagram stories. I'll put up a little thing where you guys can type in if you have a topic you want us to touch on or just a question. I've posted some of that in the Pulse stuff before, and we haven't really gotten a whole lot of questions like the Ask the Trainer thing. But if you guys have a topic you want us to talk about on the podcast, I'll just pop those in every once in a while. But you can always just DM us too.
I love it. I love it.
Okay.
Stay working hard out there, guys.
Bye.